But on the topic of Disney Plus shows, you wanted to discuss the Gina Carano firing thing.
Yeah.
And all I'm going to say to this is, look, how do I tackle this? So, what I'm going to say is,
Mm.
I hate when people are given great opportunities and they fuck it up. I'm not saying Gina Carano should keep her mouth shut. I'm not saying that at all. Some people were like, "What are you trying to say, man?" Because I had this conversation before with other people. Someone was like, "What are you trying
Yeah.
to say? She should just keep her mouth shut and not say what she wants to say." Because if I was working for Coca-Cola and I was
Mm.
on social media trashing Coke and saying Pepsi is better, Coke has
Yeah.
every right to fire me, right?
Sure.
All you have to do is shut the fuck up until you're done, until you've made your cash, until you because I don't know about Preston, but I grew up poor. I grew up like one of those people where uh it was hard, going through certain days, certain weeks at some points. Like, money making it in Hollywood, especially one of the greatest franchise ever made by man, that's a blessing. And she had this great opportunity, and maybe she has made her money. But at the same time, the way I'm thinking is like, how do you fuck it up like this, man? Like how do you introduce politics and into this whole thing? Just leave it alone. Like, if you have your thoughts,
Yeah.
save it. Say it privately to your friends. You don't need. I have a lot of crazy ideas. I know Preston does. We don't go on social media and blurt it out. Like,
That's true. I mean, and we have much smaller empires than she does. Like
of course, but
she had a
still.
fucking golden goose and she wouldn't kill her. She killed her golden goose. Um,
And the thing she was saying too is a little silly. Comparing, I believe she compared being a conservative in Biden's America to being Jews during World War
yeah.
II. Come on,
Just, just,
what are you
just
doing?
don't. Just don't. Yeah. It,
No,
um, this is how I see it. Look, people confuse a lot of stuff about freedom of speech. Like freedom of
it's not
speech,
freedom of consequence.
it's not freedom of consequence, and it's specifically freedom of consequence from the government. Okay, and this is one of the lamest things about like the talk about cancel culture and whether it exists or not, and people try to make it political. It's like, how does because I work for the government, and so I think about government and policy. What does what is the government's role in whether you think cancel culture or being politically correct or whatever is good or bad? Okay, what's the government's role in that? It has none because it has nothing to do with the government. It has nothing to do with laws. It has nothing to do with policy. Like the government does things like delivers you your social security check. The government builds you roads. The government has nothing to do with whether or not somebody is getting fired from their job for being an asshole on Twitter. Like, and should they have a role in that? Like, no, probably not. Like Disney is a private company and they have to worry about their company. And when you make their company look stupid, their financial liability. Like, you think the government should step in and stop companies from firing people that are financial liabilities when it's not like, and I'm not talking about like when it's not a fundamental human right, like when we're talking about like firing somebody based on race or gender or sex is different because that's different. Um, Based on your opinions and being an idiot on Twitter is not the same thing. And like so when I hear politicians even talking about this, trying to take positions on like, oh, we got to stop cancel culture. How are you going to stop cancel culture? Like that has nothing to do with the government, nothing. And so when people bring up freedom of speech, like that's a very political thing. Like that's freedom of speech, that's protection from the government. You're not protected from other people. You're not protected from the consequences of other people privately. Like if you say something, like it doesn't mean I can't think you're an asshole and like treat you like you're an asshole. Like,
True.
because right. So it's, that's the thing is like, do people not want to have private businesses? Because that's also a very American thing, having private businesses and being able to do what they want with their private businesses. Like a lot of people like post stuff about like, oh, YouTube is like censoring people. Well, YouTube's a private fucking business. They can do whatever they want. That's the whole thing about having a private business. And so when people are like, oh, stifling freedom of speech. No, you're not. Freedom of speech is about like government intervention. Like you're free from the government arresting you for doing something. Like it has nothing to do with like, if YouTube tomorrow said like, Preston and Carmine, we no longer want you to talk about Game of Thrones. Like, sorry, they're a private company. We can't do anything about it. Like, and that's the American way too, right? So it's as
Yeah, but the one thing that's my buddy Bryson, shout out to him. He made a good point. He goes, "You do realize politics is not about tax policies or whether or not we should invade Iran or whatever. Nowadays, politics is mostly about culture. It's a culture war,
well,
basically."
this is about people trying to get you elected over these things that don't make a difference. And this has been
Right.
going on forever. Like when I was a little kid, like Bush versus Dukakis was going on, and Bush brought up like flag burning. Who gives a fuck about flag burning? Like nobody. Like how many flags are burned in America every year? Like honestly, like 50? Like I mean, besides like when they get old and you have to burn them, by law. But they bring up these stupid things when they try to get people riled up over stuff that has nothing to do with the government. Like this has nothing to do with the government.
Well, it's no secret that Hollywood and Disney are somewhat slaves to cancel mobs on Twitter, and they're looking for any reason to shut out certain voices that don't agree with the mainstream opinion. But what Gina said wasn't really in opposition to a mainstream opinion. It was silly, it was ridiculous, and apparently she was given many warnings to cool it down a bit, and she didn't. At that point, come on. And I understand she wants to show support for those who agree with her point of view and people who are on her side of the political arena.
Yeah.
But I feel like there are better ways to do that than embolden ideas that are mainly spread by Q supporters, not actual conservatives. Because
Right.
are we talking actual conservative ideas, or are we talking about like conspiracies?
Let's go another side. Like say I decide to become a country music star, and I also want to go around talking about how I'm against I'm for gun control, and I'm pro-choice, right?
Hmm.
Do you think that like my label is going to keep me? Like
Probably
do you
not.
think right? Like I'm going around being a country guy, and I'm like I start representing, I start becoming the face of whatever Waffle House and whatever else is going on. You're in
Cracker Barrel.
Kansas, Cracker Barrel. I become the face. I'm such a great country star. I become the face of Cracker Barrel and NASCAR, and I'm everywhere. And then I start talking about how guns are killing little kids in schools and how women's rights need to be protected. I know I'm probably going to get fucking fired. Okay? Okay? So like this complaining like, oh, boo-hoo, Hollywood's so liberal. Rah. Yeah, well, conservatives have so many other, and Hollywood's not that liberal. Like I say, Hollywood is not that liberal.
They like to pretend they are.
I can go on and on and on about the vastly, blatantly conservative things that are going on. And
You actually have. It was also Star Wars related. Remember we discussed the 14
yeah,
shows Star Wars is putting out or Disney's putting out?
right. So it's
No, I agree
it's
with
all a
you.
bunch
It's
of
it's
bull.
all a lie. But like my problem with her is like you are part of one of the greatest franchises ever made by human hands, and you somehow fucked it up by just speaking your
Hmm.
mind. I get it. Everyone should speak their mind, but if I was a part of this and I had some controversial opinions, I would hold my tongue until I had enough money to just live comfortably and do whatever the fuck it is I want. And a lot of people don't have that option. A lot of actors and actresses in Hollywood don't have the luxury of picking and choosing projects. Is she one of those people? I doubt it.
Yeah,
So you just
yeah.
it's just there's just no reason for this, and quite frankly I fucking hate cancel culture. I fucking hate
Now
how
here's the other thing though about like whether or not I don't think like can we name some people that were actually canceled, like
James Gunn for a minute.
which was done by a conservative. Remember, a
Right, to
conservative
prove a
did that
point, to prove a point. There fuck I'm having trouble naming
to
them. I don't
prove a
have a list
point.
of them off
Yeah,
the top of my head,
James
off the
Gunn,
top of
who
my
but
head.
then but the thing is he ended up getting his job back and another movie. So like he did even better. So like is there any like I can name like okay, Aziz Ansari. Like he seems to have disappeared because he had a bad date with somebody. Yeah. Okay.
So you agree it was a bad day?
I've read everything about it. Yes, I believe it was a bad date. I believe that
See, and thank you for saying that, because a lot of people always get on your case to me, like even in your comment section, Preston's like a super lib. No, he's not, because all the quote unquote super liberals were all trying to get him canceled because he supposedly raped this chick. But no,
I mean,
he didn't.
people have tried to cancel me. Okay,
That is
all
true.
right? So it's like
That is
it's not
true.
it's not like I don't understand like the you know that there's a fear of it, but I also don't think it happens very much or very successfully.
How about this? How about this? And I'm
Like
using you as a perfect
it wasn't
example.
successful. It wasn't successful with me. There's and like I said, like I can name the number of people that have been successfully canceled on like one hand.